Alright, welcome. This is Mr. Ayers here. We are on Unit 1, Lesson 4, and we are going to be going over adding and subtracting decimals again. I know this should be a review for most of you, so luckily this won't take very long. Your objective is right here. Your objective is to find sums and differences of decimals. Remember, sums mean what again? We should remember those mean adding, and differences mean subtracting. Okay, so we are finding answers to addition and subtraction problems with decimals is what we're doing. Alright, let's go ahead and get on started. Of course, it wouldn't be a lesson without the fun fact of the day, and here you go. It says the King of Hearts is the only king without a mustache on the standard playing card. Here's the King of Hearts. If you look really closely at him, he does not have a mustache up here, whereas the King of Spades, the King of Diamonds, and the King of Clubs all do. For whatever reason, I don't know. Kind of like how this one is the only one that is facing to the side. So, anyway, fun fact of the day. Let's go ahead and get going with the lesson. First thing I feel that is important when we deal with decimals is reviewing place values, okay? So, it doesn't matter what we have out in front of the decimal. We remember most of those places. But after the decimal, we've got the tenths place, then the hundredths place, then the thousandths place, then the 10,000ths place, then the 100,000ths place, then the millionths. Then we could keep going with the 10 millions and the 100 millions, and then the billions, and so on and so forth. We don't usually see that many decimal places, though. Okay? But it's important to know those because I will be saying those words quite a bit when we're talking about decimals and their place values and lining up the place values. Okay? So, if I was to write this number, let's go, number it looks like this. Okay? The way I read that, again, this is just a refresher, is that we have 10 and we say 823 thousandths because the 3 is in the thousandths place because that's where the last digit is. So again, it's 10 and, we say and for the decimal, 823 thousandths. Okay? And then a number like this, okay, this would be 121 and 3,294 10,000ths, because that fourth decimal place is the 10,000. Alright, again, that's a quick review. Let's go ahead and get into the adding and subtracting of these things. Okay, so this is example 1 here. Okay, we got two problems, a part A and a part B. We have one addition problem, one subtraction problem. But the rules are the same for these, okay, except for the adding and subtracting part. Make sure you write down these steps over here. These are important, okay? So step 1 is to line up the decimal points. So I'm going to go ahead and do letter A right here. And I want to write this up and down, okay? So it looks like a normal addition problem instead of side to side. It's easier to add that way. Okay, so I'm going to start with 13.75, 13 and 75 hundredths. Okay, and I'm adding, now again, I have to line up the decimal points. So I've got to make sure this decimal point in 18.68 lines up right here. Okay, so I'm going to do that, 18.68. Well, I notice that I've got 18 in front of the decimal, and then I've got 68 behind it. Okay, that's step 1. Now step 2 is to add zeros to match place values if necessary. What that means is that if I have 2 numbers after the decimal here, I've got to have 2 numbers under the decimal down here. Or if I had 3 numbers under the decimal down here, I'd have to have 3 up here. Okay? But right now we're all matched up. We've got 2 on top, 2 on bottom. So all I have to do is go ahead and add. So that should make my work pretty easy. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and add this. 5 plus 8 is 13. Whoops. 13. I'm going to carry my 1. 7 plus 6 is 13. Plus 1 is 14. I'm going to carry my 1 again. Okay, 3 plus 8 is 11. Plus 1 is 12. And I carry the 1 again. 1 plus 1 plus 1 is 3. Now when we add and subtract decimals, we just bring the decimal straight down into the same spot. Okay, so I should have the same number of digits after the decimal in all the parts of my problem. I've got 2 after it here, 2 after it here, and 2 after it in my answer. Okay, so there's my answer. My answer is 32 and 43 hundredths. Of course, put in a box or a circle. Okay, now B, same thing. First thing I'm going to do is write this up and down. So I've got 8.76 and I'm going to line up the decimal points, so I've got to put the decimal point right underneath this one here. I've got one digit, 5, before the decimal, and then 4 digits after. I've got a 4 and a 3 and a 2 and a 1. Okay? And this is a subtraction problem. Now notice, I only have 2 decimal places up here and I've got 4 down here. They've got to match, and they always match with the higher one. So if I've got 4 down here, that's more than 2. I've got to make 4 decimal places up here, which means I'm going to just fill in a couple extra zeros up here to match the decimal places. Okay, that is very, very important. So, now I've got the zeros matched up. Now I just need to subtract this. Okay, well, I cannot take 1 away from 0 right here, and I can't take 2 away from 0, so that means I've got to borrow from the 6 and make that 5. And when I borrow, I'm making this number 10. Okay? Well, when I do that, I still have 0 here. Okay? But now I can borrow from this number. So I've got to borrow from this one for this 0 here. So I'm going to make that a 9. Sorry about the dog noise. And then this becomes a 10. Okay? Do we see that? That should be review. I had to borrow twice to be able to borrow over here. Okay, and now I should be good to go. 10 minus 1 is 9. 9 minus 2 is 7. 5 minus 3 is 2. 7 minus 4 is 3. And 8 minus 5 is 3. And then I'm going to bring that decimal point straight down here. So, there is my answer. 3 and 3,279 ten-thousandths. Okay? We have one more problem, a word problem to do. Okay, example 2, our word problem says the table to the right, that's this one over here, lists the 40-yard dash times some athletes, or I should say of some athletes, at the 2014 NFL Combine. And that's just where the college athletes show how good they are for the NFL. We want to know what is the difference between the slowest and the fastest times in the table. First of all, we've got to pick out the important information in the problem. Okay, I like to underline it. One thing that's important is that we're using the table to the right. We've got to know that. Okay, we're using this table over here. By the way, I didn't say this before. If you are writing these notes down with me like you're supposed to be, you have got to write down these words in some way. Okay, write down the important stuff, and you're going to have to draw out this table so you know what the heck the problem was that we did. Okay, so again, we're looking at the table to the right. That's important. List the 40-yard dash times of some athletes in the NFL Combine. Those words are not really important. They're not going to help us solve this problem. Okay? But this last sentence, what is the difference between the slowest and the fastest times, is very important. Okay? Because that tells us what to do. So we know we've got to pick out the slowest time. We've got to pick out the fastest time. And we've got to find the difference between those. Okay, and if we remember what difference means, that means we're going to subtract. Okay, so this is a subtraction problem because of the word difference right there. So I've got to pick out the slowest time first. Well, the slowest runner is going to be the person who took the longest. So I'm actually looking for the highest number here, which is this guy right here, Johnny Manziel. He's got the slowest time. So 4.68. That's the slowest. And then I need the fastest time. Well, the fastest time is going to be the guy that didn't take as much time as everybody else. So I've got 4.5 and 4.53 here. Well, to compare these, I've got a 4 in both spots, a 5 in both spots, and I got a 3 here and nothing here. Okay, I could really put a 0 here. But that means since 0 is less than 3, this guy is faster. Okay, he didn't take as long to run. Now all I have to do is find the difference. This is a subtraction problem. Okay? Notice I've got the decimal points lined up. I need to fill in my 0 here to match up up top. Okay, we're taking the higher number, the slowest time, because it took longer, minus the lowest number, the fastest time, and we're just going to subtract those. 8 minus 0 is 8. 6 minus 5 is 1. And then 4 minus 4 is 0. Now I got to make sure I answer the question. What is the difference? It's 0 and 1, or 0.18. That's 1800ths of a second, because all the times were in seconds. And I found that information right here. It's very important that we label this appropriately because it's a word problem. Okay, and that should be your assignment. Happy homeworking. Good luck.